Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Donna. Thank everybody so much for coming to join me today in my video for Monday. Today, as in every Monday for the last several weeks, we are doing my new video in my Palette Roulette series. And we will be discussing this baby right here, which is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. These videos were inspired by Dani from Danibo. All of her information is in my description box down below. She does an amazing palette a week series in which she chooses a palette via an app. I do the same thing. And she uses her palette a week series as a declutter series. She uses this palette for this week that she chooses, and then at the end of the week, she goes through the palette, she discusses with you the colors, and she discusses with you the palette, and she decides whether she's going to declutter the palette or not. For me, this is more of a palette series in which I use an app to choose a palette for me to use throughout the week, and I use that palette just to get more familiar with my palettes or to get use out of my palettes. I am a person who has only been in this beauty world for the last couple years, and my inventory or collection went from very little to a whole lot. I currently have, I think, 86 palettes, and I have a palette collection video coming for you guys soon. And I at one point in time was bringing in so many new products that I didn't have a chance to use them all. I still have palettes in my collection that I haven't used at all, and they're probably months old at this point in time in my collection. So this series for me was to start using those palettes, to get more out of the habit of wanting the next, newest, biggest, best palette out there, and actually using the palettes that I have, reminding myself on a weekly level that I have these crazy amazing palettes in my collection and I should just use them. So with that being said, last week my app chose the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette for me to use. This is what the exterior of the palette looks like. It is just a white, like, cardboard packaging palette. It does have Jaclyn Hill's signature on it. It says Morphe down here. And on the back side of the palette, I do have all the shade names and the shades of the palette. The first set of palettes like this that came out didn't have this attached to it and only had the colors on the back of the original packaging that it came in. So people were tearing out the original packaging or cutting the box that the original packaging came in and putting it on the inside of the palette, because the inside does not have a mirror. It just has a saying by Jaclyn that says, "This palette is dedicated to all my loving subscribers, XO Jaclyn." And they were taping the palette name, or the shade names up here, which I find to be a little better than actually this, because when I'm using this palette, it sits like this on my vanity, and I don't have time to continually pick it up and see which color it is that I am using prior to using it. But for my palette, this only came on the back of the palette. It did not come on the back of the packaging. And I have this, like, obsession with original packaging anyway, so I don't know that, which is ridiculous, but I don't know if I would be able to cut up the original packaging to put it on the inside of that. What I would say is, come on, Morphe, just put the shade names on the shades. These palettes are huge. There are 35 colors in here. It is an amazing palette, and because there are 35 colors in here, I typically would swatch the whole palette for you guys, but there's been a couple palettes that I've decided not to do that with, and this is going to be another one of those palettes. I am not going to swatch 35 shades, and I feel like at this point everybody here has probably seen this palette time and time and time again. So I'm not going to swatch it for you, but what I will do is talk about some of the colors that I really, really loved in this palette and show you those swatches on, say, my fingers. I really enjoy this palette. It was my first experience, honestly, with Morphe, and I can't say that Morphe is my favorite shadow formula, but it's not a bad shadow formula. I have since received another Morphe palette as a gift, which I absolutely love. And I just, in an Ulta haul, which you guys will see at the end of this month, because it is part of my February haul, Purchased a 9-pan Morphe palette that is beautiful. And, like I need another freaking palette. Some of these shades are just so standout shades. So I will tell you some of the ones I do not like. I do not like this black one here. It is called Abyss, and it is not necessarily the best black. It looks pretty black on your finger, but once you put it onto the eye, it really kind of shears out. Let me go get a makeup wipe. So I accidentally grabbed two, and they smell really like cucumber. Like, really like cucumber. Okay, so that black, it really kind of shears out on your eye. It doesn't look like a really great black. I mean, it's a good black. It's just not an amazing black. I really also don't like this shade here, which is called 24/7. It's just a really, I mean, it's pretty on your finger when you swatch it, though. It just becomes like this glittery mess. I don't know if you guys can see the glitter in that, but it really just becomes a glittery mess, and I don't really like that. And I find that it just kind of goes all over my face and doesn't really stay put. In order to use it and have the glitter stay where you want it to stay, you would really have to use a glitter glue, and I'm not into using glitter glue. I'm not into putting additional steps into my makeup routine that I don't need to put into my makeup routine, especially since I only give myself an hour to do my makeup prior to going to work. I just don't have that kind of time. So all the other shadows in here are really not bad. I don't have a problem with a lot of them. And like I said, those two are probably my least favorite in the palette, but they're not horrible. The black is kind of scratchy. It is kind of a more scratchy formula. And for a matte, for me, for Morphe, I've not found that Morphe's mattes are very, very scratchy, to be honest. I feel like a lot of them are pretty buttery, but that one is just not. This one is, like I said, not a bad color. I just feel like the amount of glitter that's in it needs to stay where it's supposed to stay and not go all over your face. I just don't have any fun with that. But some of my favorite colors in this palette are this one here, which is called Cranapple. It is a really pretty, like, oh man, it's just a really pretty red color. Can you guys see that? I maybe put that on the worst place to swatch. I am the world's worst swatcher. I really just dig that red. I like reds though on my eyes so very much. This color here, is it this one? Yes. This color here is called Sassy, and oh my god, you guys, this is such a pretty color. Can you guys see the duochrome in that? Like, it is a pink that kind of shifts peach, and it is just so beautiful in your eye looks. It is just so pretty. And this, again, is just swatching without actually foiling that shadow or making it wet, and that is how it is on your eyes. Like, I feel like she did a really good job working on this palette, and she should have. It took like forever to do. But another one that is my favorite is this one right here. It is this green shade called Diva, and it looks like this in a finger swatch. Again, another kind of duochrome color. It is a green with a shift of gold, and that is it right there. So pretty. And if you mix it with the dark green in this palette, it pops more green, but if you mix it with like browns, it pops more gold, and kind of like a muted like sage color almost, and it's just so beautiful. So I'm going to scoot over here and put some pictures up here in the screen for you. The one thing I can say about this palette that I don't like is some of the colors are just super similar. I mean, when you have a palette that's got 35 shades in it, it's really hard to come up with 35 distinctly different shadows, I'm sure. But like this this purple here and this blue here in the pans, they look distinctly different. On your lids though, they look very, very similar. I don't know if you guys can tell just on the fingers, but next to each other in an eye look, they look just so similar. There is a look that I did using both colors, and it just looks like a blue eye look, unless you got really close and you could see the purple as well. What I liked to do is separate those two colors, and there was one blue look that I did where I put purple on my lower lash line, and it looked stunning, and you could tell the difference between the two colors. The purple does have a little bit of glitter in it, so I don't really like that. Again, it's a glitter that kind of falls all over the place, but it's just such a pretty purple. It is a really deep royal purple that is so pretty, but next to that blue that is also a deep royal blue that's very pretty, and there's not much else difference in it. It just looks the same on the lid. So with that being said, there are 35 shadows in this palette 35 shadows in this palette that have a hard time honestly looking distinctly different. I had a lot of fun with this palette, and at some point last week I went into my makeup room, into my recording room here, and just played with the palette and came up with, you know, like 3 or 4 new eye looks. I should have recorded it because I totally could have recorded it and had a 4 looks 1 palette with this palette, because that's all I did. I just played with it and I really enjoyed playing with it. But sometime at the end of that, my eyes were so sore because I just put on a makeup look and then wipe it off, and then put on a new one and wipe it off. And you know, you can't really, I mean, you can do that, but like I said, my eyes were so sore. So the next day I went with a very, very easy peasy look, and honestly, that day I think I had, I think I put this color, this one right here, all over my lid as just kind of like a transitioning or base shade. And then I put this red here, which I think is called Roxanne. No, it's called Jax. I put this red here all over into my crease and above my crease, and then put an eyeliner on, and didn't really do anything on my lid, and it just looked really, really good. Jax is probably my most used color in this palette. I love it so much. Besides this one, which is called Beam, which I used in my brow bone almost every single day. It is, oh my gosh, this color is, I mean, look at how just pigmented that is, and then you put it on and it is super pigmented and shiny. Yeah, I use that in my brow bone almost every single day. Today, I actually filmed a video earlier, and this is the first time I've done a palette roulette where the palette that I am talking about is not what is on my eyes. So I can't tell you what's on my eyes today. That is a video that is coming later this week. It's a little bonus video for you folks, so be sure to hit that bell if you want to be notified when that video posts. If you like this look and you want to find out how I got it, I believe it'll be up on Thursday. So I have to say probably my least used color in this palette is this one here. It is called Creamsicle, and I'm just not super fond of this orange color. It doesn't go really well with my skin tone, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of golds, but this gold is actually not a bad gold at all. I really actually kind of dig it, and it was in a couple of my eye looks. So I use the palette both with an eye primer and without an eye primer. I typically do that with all the palettes that I'm using during my Palette Roulette series. And I found that it didn't work better with or without. There was no difference in it really. I know that I felt like the darker the shade, the more likely I was going to have fallout. That might just be because the darker the shade, the more apparent it was maybe, but that purple and blue shade that I showed you guys not that long ago was horrible for fallout. I felt like every single time I put it on my eyes, I had like this giant blue, black, blue, purple eye, which really made me look bruised. So I knew if I was going in with either one of those colors, I needed to do my base makeup last, which is not my specialty. I hate doing my base makeup last. The biggest reason why I hate doing my base makeup last is because if I do my base makeup last, then I always continue to feel like my eye makeup looks like poop. So I don't know about you, but for me, if my base makeup is done first, like I can get through an eye look in probably 20 minutes, if that. Nothing flat, as long as I know the colors I'm anticipating putting on my eyes and know how to blend them well and know how to make it look great. I could do a real quick eye look. But when I am doing my base makeup last, I will do an eye look, redo an eye look, redo an eye look, put more color into it, reblend, reblend, reblend. Just too much. There's just so much work into my eye look when my base makeup is not done first. I feel like once you have your base makeup done and your eye look done and your lashes, you know, mascara on your lashes and your eyeliner, like perfection done, I feel like your eye look comes together, and I feel like I have a harder time getting there when I do my base makeup last. So with that being said, now is the time to pick a new palette to use for next week. I will go get my phone. I'll be right back. The app I use is on the Play Store. I do have a Samsung Note 9 Plus, and I use the Play Store app called called Decide Now. The app that Danny from Danibo, from her channel Danibo, uses is, I believe, called Wheel Decide. And it is just the same kind of app, only it's on, I believe she has an iPhone, so it's on whatever app store. Is that what it's called? It's on the App Store for iPhones. It is just an app with a palette, or with a like Wheel of Fortune wheel on it. You put anything you want it to decide for you into this wheel, and you name the wheel. Mine's called Palette a Week, inspired by Danibo, and then you spin the wheel. Oh no. So this is a I have to be 100,000% honest with you. It chose the Smashbox Cabana Cover Shop palette. Let me go get that palette real quick. Alright, my friends. This is a palette that my Decide Now app chose for me. This is one of the Cover Shop palettes from Smashbox, and it actually came to me via an eBay purchase that I made that I regret making because I got some atrocious stuff in this like makeup box, and it was way before I started YouTube, but it was about the time that I started getting into makeup and really wanted to like bring more presence into my collection without spending a whole lot of money on it. And this is when I decided that I needed to just, you know, purchase the things I wanted instead of hoping that I get stuff that I will use. This is what the palette looks like. I need you guys to look at this palette really closely. When I tell you that I have been in this makeup, on this makeup journey of mine for 2 years, and I got this right after I started this makeup journey of mine, but before I started YouTube, which I've been doing for 1.5 years now, and you look at this palette, what is the one thing that you see? You might see that this palette has never been touched. So this is the precise reason why I started doing this Palette Roulette series. But I can tell you, I am not excited to use this palette. So, whoops, I just totally stuck my finger in one of those shadows. Yep, sure did. Now look at it. Oh, that poor guy. Poor guy is all kinds of dented in. So, my daughter wants this palette, and I might end up decluttering this palette at the end of this. What I can say about these palettes is they are nice. They do have a mirror in them. I haven't taken the, you know, cover off of the mirror that protects it. But these colors are just not colors that I find myself gravitating towards when I decide to put colors on my eyes. Smashbox is a brand, one of the very first brands that I have ever tried in makeup. I think it went Bare Minerals and then Smashbox. I do have 2 palettes by Smashbox, but they're full-size palette. This is also considered a full-size palette, but it is a $30 palette as opposed to a like $50 palette. But man, these colors. And from what I understand, this is a cover shot that came in a set of like with a mascara and like an eye primer and like an eyeliner. I didn't get those parts of this set. This is all I got in that eBay purchase of mine. So I'm not excited. But I'm going to go into it with the thought process that I'm going to try and use it as much as possible. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it enough that you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. I do love this Palette Roulette series I have going on. It's one of, well, it is basically one of the only series on my channel, but it is my favorite of all the series that I do for the most part. I love being able to dig into palettes that I've never touched or palettes that I've forgotten about, and I am kind of quasi-excited to actually kind of dig into this palette next week. So I hope that you guys are considering subscribing to my channel so that you can follow along with me in this journey of mine through the beauty industry, and follow along with my Palette Roulette series, find out a little bit more about each palette as I use them. Like I said, I've got a long haul. I've got about 86 palettes sitting over there, so I got at least a year of these videos to do, and I think we're on number 16? Maybe 17? Maybe I'm way off, but I'm enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun. So I hope that you guys are considering subscribing to my channel, being a part of this family, and I still am very, very active in the comment section, so please leave me a comment down in the comment section. I would love to hear from you, respond to you, have a little banter going on down there, and until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye.